when we live.
We're live now.
I was just asking. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Stephen. How you doing, mate?
Fine, thanks. Can you hear me and see me okay?
I can hear you and see you perfectly well, my friend. How are you
Lovely.
doing this fine Wednesday morning?
I'm all right, apart from I have yuck to go to in about 10 minutes, but I couldn't leave you all alone all morning.
You didn't want to leave me on my own, Sim. Yeah.
No.
Today, unfortunately, we have Alex is traveling. Good morning, Henry. Good to see you, mate.
Morning, Henry.
Alex is traveling for the next couple of days. So for the next few days, you've got me with hopefully some guests. If not, then it's just me on my own. But Stephen has very kindly jumped in this morning to help keep me company for at least to the beginning of the session. So let's get.
It's a bit selfish. I want to check out my new webcam as well, so it's a bit selfish.
You're looking good. You're looking good, mate. You're looking good. Let me just rearrange things a little bit here. Do you like my new lighting? Just see that? Yeah, got a little bit of RGB going on. That's Abe's influence.
You were telling me. Yeah.
So it arrived yesterday. I think it's looking rather nice.
I'm still waiting for my green pot plant to appear behind me.
It's all right. We'll happily settle with a couple of nice pillows instead, nice cushions.
Yes, it's a bit of a mess. Don't look behind me.
No worries, mate. No worries.
My office is my lounge.
Today, we already had a bit of news, so it'll be interesting to see what the market's done with this news. There's a lower than expected. Actually, hang on a second. It sounds very quiet here. I know why, because we haven't got any background music. God, Alex will kill me. There we go.
That's better.
That's better. Better chill out.
What news did we have?
There we go.
Aussie dollar.
So we have had some Aussie dollar CPI, which was just lower than expected. But this one is quite interesting. The German consumer confidence. So it'll be interesting to see what's happening with the euro this morning with regards to that. And then later on, we have got some new home sales coming in on the dollar. So worth just keeping an eye on that. Almost 7 hours away. So kind of 3 o'clock GMT. 4
yeah,
o'clock
I was going to say I haven't got much. 3 o'clock new home sales, orange folder.
Yeah.
I'll
We'll
be
see how
all
that
done
one plays out.
before then. I won't be in anything by then.
Good stuff. So first things first, we'll just have a quick look at the strength scores. I think it's a resounding dollar strength today at the moment. I think it's fair to say. And the yen, having been quite strong yesterday, is looking rather weak. We got Daniel in with us as well. Good morning, Daniel. We've got 4 viewers. So who else have we got with us? I can't see who's our viewers because you're coming in on multiple channels. So do say hello to us in the chat. We'd love to say hello to you guys. So dollar is looking quite strong. Pound is looking strong, which would suggest to me that pound dollar might not be one to necessarily check out because they might cancel each other out and may just range for the while. But yen dollar might be a good one. I saw somebody was looking at that in the alphabetic day trading lounge. So we'll have a look at that. Yeah, and we also got the Aussie dollar and the New Zealand dollar showing a bit of weakness. So there's some decent opportunities, some nice divergences there. So we'll go and have a quick look. We'll ignore the crypto for the time being because that's just making everyone weep at the moment. And
you're making the most of Alex not being here, aren't you?
I am, absolutely, yeah. We'll have a look first of all at gold. Gold really sold off yesterday afternoon, massively sold off. I'm not sure what that was necessarily down to. I was chatting to a couple of people in the afternoon. There is word that there is an imminent deal on the table for Ukraine and for the United States in terms of the minerals. So that could possibly be driving some of that. Whether that holds, I don't know. I mean, we've still got liquidity further down, but certainly, you know, we're seeing gold really dropping off there. There's one viewer in YouTube. We're secret so far. After launch, it will grow. No worries. Thank you, Daniel. Exactly. But yeah, we will be exploding in popularity once we're properly launched. Be interesting to hear, Daniel, what your view is on gold. Let us know in the chat, because I know you've been bullish on gold for quite some time. Looking at Daniel's usual setups, we have a new contraction here, which I know Daniel will explain in Alpha Beta Labs. So if you're not in Alpha Beta Labs, make sure you sign up for the waiting list, and you'll be able to get access to Daniel's CET course on trading gold, which is definitely worth checking out. But it does look like we've potentially got a contraction now. We've still got another 3 hours to go, just under 3 hours. So there's still time for it to play out. But the last contraction we had, I think, was this one here, wasn't it, Daniel? If I'm not mistaken, up in this zone. So we'll see. Yeah, then we break and a free candle. Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. So what Daniel's saying is, if we had a contraction in this zone here, then what we'd be looking for is assuming price stays like that, we'd be looking for price to come up here and then sell off in that direction. It may even come up as high as this area here to retest this area, to then potentially sell off. But we're looking for it to take the highs and the lows of this contraction area, assuming that does close as contraction. Contraction being a mother candle with the bodies on either side. Looking at the daily, let's have a look at the daily. The daily also looks like it could form a contraction as well, which would be interesting. We have one down here, and if this one forms as a contraction, then that could very well be an interesting one as well. Testing value line 50% of a contraction. Okay. Got you. So what Daniel's saying is we were testing the 50% of this contraction here on the daily, which would be stronger than the 4 hour. Hence why he's not convinced. So that's gold. Let's head on down and have a look at EU, because I know a lot of people like to trade EU. EU on the daily has taken this liquidity here, and yesterday created an inside bar. Now, Stephen, you know I love an inside bar. So that's
3 minute, 11 minute, 21 minute. Or which one?
Yeah, exactly. Although as Alex would say, the EMAs are bunching up together, and we're still hovering above the EMAs, and we also still have this room here. So hard one to call. What are you looking at, Stephen? Because I'm conscious I know you've got to run to work, so I don't want to you just sitting there while I'm gabbling away. So what are you looking at today?
I've got about 2 minutes left. You know what? I've been through my session breaks this morning, and there's absolutely nothing for me again. 3 days in a row. No.
Nothing.
I'm looking
Nothing
for like the Asian break low in the London session continuation, like on EU now on the 15-minute chart.
Yeah.
It came out the Asian session low, came back into London, up to the London session, entered the London session at the Asian low, and it's just all fannying around, doing nothing. So I've got a general uptrend on my trend line there. So, but if it broke the Asian high, that would be above the previous day high, and wouldn't give me enough space to target the next level, which would be the previous month high, or yesterday's Asian high, around about 1.0527. So really, there's nothing for me on EU, and similar story on GU as well. Yeah, they're just sort of messing around and around.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, the 15-minute on the on EU is I mean, if it closed like that right now, I'd be saying, right, we're very, very bullish.
Yeah,
that would be an area that I'd be thinking.
It's going back into the Asian session, that one. And it's got the previous weekly high at 105.06, just above there. About where you put that yellow line there.
Yeah.
So
So that
nothing
that
for me
is
there.
for me. That for me is a potential zone of reaction. Now, the only thing that stops me from being entirely convinced by it is, well, first of all, there is liquidity there because it's a wickless candle, as I can see there on the 11-minute. So there's definitely liquidity for it to target. And these wicks here on the 11-minute suggest that we are going to go higher. We didn't take this low. So liquidity from this high has been taken. Price tried to pull down and it couldn't, and then shot straight back up. And price came here. It didn't take this low yet.
Yeah, see,
So
I'd like a short if I could down to
You'd
the
like a
previous
short,
day
would
low.
you?
Only because that's the only space I've got down to the previous day low. But
Gotcha.
price action isn't giving me a short because it came bang out the Asian session to the low side.
Yeah.
I would have preferred if it came out the Asian session, took the previous day high, and then broke the Asian low to target the previous day low down at 1.0.
I mean, I'm looking at it. I'm seeing that's not a wickless candle, which suggests that we're going to keep going strong. The only thing is that we're at this 200 EMA and we're stalling at it, as you would expect. Just like we stalled at it here when it first reached it. It stalls and then eventually it breaks through it. Here it came to it and bounced straight off it. Here it's tried to break through it, it's bounced straight off. But as these two EMAs come closer together and we get closer to the 200, it suggests there might be a change in direction coming.
Maybe. I think it's going to go up a bit first before it drops, especially if you. I think DXY looks more like it's coming down, which would also imply euro dollar going up for a little bit, maybe.
Yeah. Again, we've got that engulfing here on the DXY, which looks very, very bearish.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of strength in the dollar this morning, as we can see there. And that
would go hand in hand with Daniel's short on gold, wouldn't it? If there's dollar strength.
It would. Yeah. So definitely some interesting things to play with. And then we've got the NAS. The NAS after.
Sorry, Mike, I'm going to have to leave you by yourself now.
No worries, Stephen. No worries. You rush off to the yuck.
Off to the yuck, as it's known. Everyone needs to replace the word work with yuck. That's what we need to start a proper trend going. Off to yuck we go.
Real work is yuck. Trading is what we really want to be doing. So
exactly.
Thanks very much for joining me, mate.
All right. See you later, dude.
I'll speak to you later. Cheers,
mate. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
There we go. All right. So let's just. There we go. That's a bit better. Let me just rearrange this a little bit. There we go. That's nicer. Otherwise, I look like a really long, I don't know what. Looking at the NAS, we had a big sell-off on the 5-minute. That was the big sell-off yesterday afternoon. I think we had some news that was a trigger for that. I can't recall off the top of my head, but there certainly was a big drop-off yesterday, and that's just continuing from the previous sells that we've seen so far. I mean, it's really, really bottoming out at the moment. There just seems to be a lot of sentiment of weakness coming into the US. There's a lot of belief around that things are going to get worse before they get better, unfortunately, which is not good. I think that's probably compounded by the redundancies and the layoffs that are taking place on a federal level with Doge and Mr. Musk and his activities. So yeah, at the moment, still looks like sells are coming in strong, certainly on the NAS. You'd probably say the same, actually maybe less so on the Dow Jones. The Dow has gained some strength where the NAS hasn't, but it has broken past this 200 EMA, so it does suggest there's probably further downside to come. The S&P 500, again, broken past that 200 EMA on the 4-hour, still looking like sells are coming in on that as well. If we look at The DAX, on the other hand, is holding strong. The DAX is really holding strong. I was looking at this move here that we had on the DAX, and this was a trade that I looked at yesterday that was very, very, very nice indeed. Had I taken it, we had basically price come down to the 50. I mean, this was an ideal break and retest trade for what Alex would be looking for. So you can see prices come down. This is on the 5 minute, come down. We've created a massive engulfing candle. It's gone up, broken past the 200, past all of the EMAs, pulled back down to 50% of that initial big move because it's broken all of this structure here. It's come down to the 50% and it's shot straight up, and it's gone well beyond even the normal target that Alex would even have for that kind of trade. So that would have been a nice 2-to-1 win. And I mean, if you'd gotten in on a second one, I'm not sure I would have done necessarily. You would have had a second trade on that one. And it's doing the same again at the moment. Not necessarily an entry right now. I'd probably be looking for a re-entry on this zone here, because it's certainly pushing down significantly here. Let's see what it looks like on the fibs. And the fibs, yeah, we're coming down to the 6180. So we wanted to see what the kind of reaction is around this area here. It may come all the way down here to retest it. We will see. What's Daniel saying? Daniel's saying, normally when a year starts trending, there will be some tough weeks for trend traders, and one has to be careful what to take. It's a zero-sum game. It absolutely is, Daniel. And profits can certainly easily be lost. Definitely. I completely agree with Daniel. It is a very choppy market the last few months, in fairness. You know, if we take it out to the daily on not on the DAX, obviously, but if we take it to, for example, Euro USD, you look at the daily actually, zooming out, you look at all of that price action there. It hasn't really trended at all. This has started to look a bit trendy, but if we look at it on the weekly, are we now fully in a trend? I'm not so sure. You know, yes, we've broken past this area, but I could see some strength coming back into the dollar to retest areas around here potentially. It all depends whether we can break these highs that we have at the moment. So if we look on the weekly, we see we haven't broken it. What we have done, excuse me, is we have created an inside bar on the weekly here from last week. So whether we can break this zone here, that will determine whether we're going to see further longs come, further shorts coming in or not. If we don't, then I would expect us to keep going short on Euro USD. Just going back to the strength scores, I said earlier about the USD JPY. So let's just have a look at that and see why are we seeing such a divergence on those. We'll take it to the 1 hour and see if there's anything happening. Are we in a zone? Are we in an area? I'm not entirely sure if we are. Let's have a look. I mean, these areas are still, you can see these are still areas of reaction. So when there's a strong area, so I've marked this one out because this was where price really pushed up from, and you had this order block. And you can see price has bounced off it, creating engulfing candles in both directions, in fact. So you can see another order block has been built here, and again it's pushed off from down here. So am I seeing anything at the moment? Not sure. It's hovering around that's 200 EMA, so I think if there is anything, it's not there yet. Could there be longs? There could be. This could be a nice long setup here. That, you know, seeing how this closes on the 1 hour could be an interesting setup for longs. But I don't know how much leg room it's got, because we've still got this big wick here on the 4 hour, which suggests that there's a lot of resistance here. If we go to the 7 hour, Nothing really there. The 7 hour actually looks quite bullish. As you can see, this wick and then an engulfing reacting off that wick and pushing on up. And we do have liquidity higher up. The same on the 8 hour. We have this liquidity here. And looking at it on the 8 hour, we do look quite oversold. You know, it's expanded out and certainly looks like it could be coming to, it's broken past this support zone, but it could be coming to somewhere here. So possibly something like this. Maybe something around that kind of, looking at maybe reactions from this zone here, maybe. That's possibly something to keep an eye out for. You've also got some reaction zones here, so certainly some areas to consider. But yeah, as Daniel says, it's tough. It is very tough at the moment. There's nothing clear cut to suggest going one way or the other. Let's have a look at what else is on the strength scores. So GBP, JPY, you know, the Japanese yen showing a lot of weakness. Let's have a look at GJ. What's GJ looking like? Very, very choppy. Don't like the look of that on the 8 hour or on the 4 hour. No, that doesn't look nice at all. It's taken this liquidity level that I had marked out, which must have been, what was it, an 11 hour or no, it was a daily inside bar and possibly 11 hour as well. Yeah, so it was an 11 hour inside bar. It's taken both of these. At the moment, it's actually suggesting longs. And this is why I really like the 11 hour, because it just gives you a clearer perspective on things, at least from my strategy. You can see here that we've taken this liquidity here, we've taken this inside bar, and what we've done is we've now gone and we've reacted off this zone and we're pushing higher. And with only 37 minutes left on this candle, there's certainly a suggestion that buyers are coming in and taking over. On the 15-minute, you've got a really nice setup actually, where price has done an engulfing candle. Price has come down and it's reacted from it, and it's retested that zone and it's pushed on up again. So if I were to go to the 1 minute now, where could I see a possible entry? If it were to come down to here, maybe that might be a nice discounted price to get in at the moment. Otherwise, maybe down here. Thing with the Japanese yen is that sometimes the price can wick so much that you just get chopped all over the place. But this might be a nice area because it's coming down to the 200 EMA. So this could be one that's one to look at. Daniel says, I've seen many trade Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar to stay away from the USD craziness. Is that some truth in that? Is a better pair during choppy USD pairs? Yeah, the problem is, Daniel, is that the Aussie dollar and the New Zealand dollar, they're very closely tied. So that's the only problem with them, is that yes, there can be divergence between them, but because those economies are so closely tied, you're not necessarily going to see divergence on them. We can certainly look at the Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar, and see what it's looking like. At the moment, on the 1 minute, we've got a bit of price action. You know, certainly some activity there, and on the 15 minute, also looks quite interesting. Hasn't broken past this level here yet, but on the 15 minutes, I think we've still got this zone to break down. Take it out to the 1 hour. Yeah, that looks rather choppy. There's certainly liquidity to be taken, and I was actually looking at this the other week when we had this big impulsive move, and I basically got chopped by all of this. I was expecting a move, and this is what I don't like about the New Zealand dollar Aussie dollar pair, is that unlike any USD pair, because obviously USD is still the main kind of base currency of the world, you can see a big impulsive move and price will come back and close it off, but it doesn't necessarily work on an intraday trade. If you're going to do it on a swing trade, yeah, you might get something, if you're prepared to hold it. But I mean, if we look at this, so for price to come down and close this here, it took 5 days. That for me is a really long swing. So I would be, I would agree with you that there's definitely an argument to be had for that. But what I would be looking at is I would be looking at the divergence here. So if the USD is up here, okay, not looking great. Let's look at something else. Maybe the pound, maybe the euro with one of these. So for example, maybe the euro JPY or maybe the euro New Zealand dollar, because the New Zealand dollar looks very weak at the moment. So let's have a look at that one just as an example. Euro New Zealand dollar. So on the 1 hour, we can see we've got this big impulsive move up. We've broken these highs here. And where's the next area? Possibly around here somewhere. Let's have a look. Yeah, so we've got this big wick here. That's potentially an area of interest. Take it out to the 4 hour. And yeah, that looks like a really nice area to be targeting. And as it forms at the moment, we've got a 4 hour engulfing candle. Retested, probably not entirely, but it's forming a nice engulfing bullish candle to the upside. So on the lower time frame for an intraday trade, you might get something here. You might get something, but it would be a risky move because, let's just have a look. It's broken, that's okay, but we still have this engulfing here. So on the lower time frame, we're still seeing a lot of chop. So possibly longs. Granted, we've broken this. So there is a break of this price action here. This range has been broken to some extent. So possibly I'd be looking for buys. I'm guessing it's probably going to be around about here. Let's see. Yeah. So I would potentially look for buys on this around about here. And there's still time for that to play out. On the 4 hour where I said that there's two engulfings, there's still another hour and a half for that to play out. So that's possibly a nice one to look out for on Euro New Zealand dollar. That could be a really nice one. There's liquidity to target down here on the inside bar of the 5 minute. Yeah, and it's an order block on the 7 minute. So this looks like a nice, clean, relatively clean setup. It's reacting from that area that I've marked out here. The 11 minute also looking quite nice. It's it's in within these EMAs at the moment. 15 minute. Yeah, the only snag or the only risk, one of the risks I can see at the moment is this is a 15-minute inside bar, and this is a wickless candle. So that is an area of concern. Let's look at the others. Yeah, it's also wickless on 45 minutes, but it is bouncing off that EMA. So, 50-minute looks better, and the 90-minute looks very good. I would say the 90-minute looks nice, but looking at the 90-minute, that could suggest. Actually, no, because if we look at the 90-minute, not always will the wick of an engulfing candle, and this is an attempted engulfing candle because it hasn't taken the high, but I mean the high was eventually taken. But if you see here, this wick hasn't been tested on this one, so it doesn't necessarily need to get tested. So if we look at this one as a candle, this move just here, that one there, again, it's still at the 50% level where I marked out previously. So That's still a possibility. It's still a potential trade opportunity, I would say. At the moment, we're retesting that high. Are we going to break it? Yeah, we've broken it. So that's taken the liquidity there, but look how it's reacted from it. It's taken the liquidity of that 90-minute candle, and it's now pulling down. So I would say there's a possible opportunity there. If you want to stay away from the dollar, then that's certainly something to consider. But when we see such strength in the dollar right now, that means that there's going to be opportunities. There's going to be some movement with the dollar. If we take it out to the weekly, that's always a good way to look at it as well. That's why I really like this baby pips. I'll stick it in the chat. There you go. This one is really, really good because it will show you different time frames. So you can look at even the 1 month strength scores. So you can see the dollar right now on the monthly is really, really weak, and the Japanese yen is very strong. But everything else, there's really not much at all. So we take it to the weekly. Yeah, the Swiss is looking strong. The euro is looking strong. The dollar doesn't actually look that strong on the weekly. And I did read somewhere that the yen is going to show some strength in the coming weeks due to their interest rate decisions, where I believe they're looking to cut interest rates. So again, that can provide some insight. Other ones to look at, which is just worth considering, is things like the volatility meters. So where is it most volatile? Right now, the Japanese yen is the most volatile on the weekly. On the daily, where's the most volatility? It shows you the same kind of thing that I was saying. The yen and the dollar. The most volatility is probably going to give you the most kind of moves. So that's just worth considering and worth kind of having a look at. Here you can see where are we seeing the most volatility. So the yen has shown significant volatility lately. The other two was the CAD. I think this was probably around about the time when Trump was saying he was going to introduce those tariffs on the Canadian dollar. Hence why you see the USD there as well. So it's always worth just looking at these. And Baby Pips, what I really like about their platform is that it's not overly complicated. I love TradingView, but when you look at, for example, the heat map, for example, when you look at one of these, for me, that can be quite overwhelming, right? Especially if you're maybe new to trading, it can be somewhat overwhelming to try and understand what does this all mean, right? We look at all of these different figures, and there's all sorts of different tickers and everything else, and they can be quite quite overwhelming. If we go to the markets overall, you see all of these sorts of things, and you get the indices and all of these pluses and minuses and everything else. They can be quite overwhelming. Whereas when you go to Baby Pips, it's just nice and clean and simple. Good morning, Hamed. Good morning, mate. How are you doing? Good to see you. So definitely worth having a look. It's totally for free, which is great. And you can get some really nice trade ideas by looking at this. So at the moment here we're suggesting, possible opportunities because there's a big percentage change. So we're suggesting maybe there's a USD JPY opportunity, pound JPY, pound New Zealand dollar. We were looking at Euro New Zealand dollar. Maybe there's a pound New Zealand dollar opportunity. It looks similar kind of price action, similar kind of setup, but looks more bullish actually than the Euro New Zealand dollar, doesn't it? So this one here, this one could also be a nice entry. Let's have a look. We've got this big price impulse. I could certainly see us coming. This one's probably going to retrace a bit further, maybe down to here, maybe down to this order block down here. The reason why is you can see there's been a lot of price action in that area, and there's been quite a few reactions to it. But that looks like a nice area to target. Doesn't necessarily have to respect these lines. These are just areas of interest, but certainly you could, if you were looking for a trade, that could be a nice opportunity. So you might set yourself an opportunity, say on the 6180, set yourself your stop loss down here. It's nice and below the 200 EMA, as you can see, and then have your take profit up here. If we look at that on the 1 hour, that looks like a really nice opportunity. So that's one to consider. Hamid's asking about, what about EU? So EU, Hamid, we did have a look at it a little bit earlier. EU is a little bit of a tricky one. The reason being is we're not seeing any major moves on EU right now. There is a bit of a drop, but it's not significant. If you see here, the biggest movers, the biggest losers, if you like, are up here. So if we go back to the market snapshot, you can see the euro is still showing some strength. So I would be reluctant to trade this one, purely because we're still in this kind of choppy range to some extent. So this one is less convincing for me, less convincing. It just feels like we're still in this, if we look at it, we're still in this area here. We still haven't broken this high. And I would say we're probably in that area right now, certainly on the lower time frames. This high does represent a weekly level, which I mentioned earlier. So price changed direction at this point. And we've got an inside bar. We've taken the high of last week, and we've still got this low down here. So obviously we've still got a few more days, but the dollar is showing strength right now. So certainly EU could show some bearish momentum. But I mean, look at that 4-day. That 4-day, that wasn't a very strong rejection of that wick. So could we come down to here? Possibly. You know, that's an area of interest. On the 3-day, we still have this liquidity level down here, which I mentioned on the weekly. It's here as well. This was a nice wick rejection. On the 2-day, it's less so, but we're at the 50 EMA. So for me, I would be looking at all of these factors to try and develop my bias. One tool that I think is really worth checking out, if those of you who aren't familiar with him, is if you know the Scruffy Trader, Gary Langley, in his community, I know it is paid, but he has a very interesting tool where he helps you to determine the bias and the potential opportunities with various different assets. He uses the MACD, the RSI, and Bollinger Bands, and combines those along with what was the previous candle. So was it bullish, was it bearish? And that helps him to calculate a bias on that. So definitely worth checking out. Richie Rich is in the house. Rich, do you want to come and join me? That'd be amazing if we can get Richie Rich in the house. Let's see if we can get Mr. Wells to jump in here with us. I don't know if he's got time, because he's a very busy man. And I know that he has lots going on, but there you go, Rich. I've pinged you the link if you want to come and join me. Be lovely to have you, mate. Otherwise, just a cheerleader in the chat is all good. He's got 5 minutes. There we go. Let's have Rich join us. So yeah, this area right now, we'll have to wait and see. Rich is the master of being calm. Rich and Victor. Victor is really the master of calm. Victor is like, he's like you know, the samurai, you know. Alex Hamid is on a little trip to go see some family, so he's got a few days for himself, so he's away for the next few days, but he will be back next week. So fear not, he will be back very, very soon. But yeah, he's just taken a couple of days. So I'll be holding the fort. Hopefully, I'll have some special guests with me to come and join me, just like Rich Wells himself. So So yeah, it'd be an interesting few days, but hopefully I can still keep you guys entertained and still give you some value and some insight as well. So whilst we wait for Rich to jump in, let's see what's happening on the crypto side of things. I know Rich isn't a big fan of crypto, so we'll jump into crypto whilst he's jumping in. But we can see on the 2-day and the daily, we've really sold off. Now we're reacting off the 200 EMA, which is reassuring. And the wick yesterday, if you notice, we came off. Here he is. He's coming. He's coming. We reacted off the 200 EMA here, and we didn't break this low here, which is reassuring. It is reassuring, but I'll leave that one up for Rich to see when he jumps in. He's just getting his mic and his camera sorted, so he'll be with us in a second. But as you can see, that we had this area here. Now, this price action on the daily, what you can see is the price made this big impulsive move, and I always see on a bearish candle, on a bullish candle, the high is the liquidity. On a bullish candle, the low is the liquidity. So what you can see on this one is that price. Let me just use a little arrow to point this. Price here came up, the next day took the high, pushed back down, but then it wicked back up in the same day. And so therefore created this area of interest, this reaction zone. And sure enough, in the process, it created an inside bar on the daily. That inside bar was taken yesterday as major liquidity, and sure enough, price has reacted from it. Now, if we drill down onto the lower time frames, 22-hour looks really nice right now. It's created an inside bar here, so there's liquidity above us to target. I believe. No, we don't have an inside. We don't have a wickless candle here. But let's have a look on the 12-hour. 12-hour looks also like a nice wick rejection. 11-hour. Also looks very nice. We've got an inside bar here, so we've got liquidity left higher up at this level here. So there's definitely opportunity on Bitcoin right now. I'm not convinced that Bitcoin is just gonna crash. I just don't see how that's possible. But maybe I'm too optimistic. I don't know. We'll wait and see. Here he is, Mr. Wells. Are you ready to join us, matey? Yeah. Let's bring him in. There he is.
Good morning.
How you doing? There you go, Rich. Hamed is paying the compliments before you even got in here. Your unique characteristic voice.
If it was unique characteristics, I'd be like, oh no, what have I done? Let me get a screen share up here. I can share a quick analysis. I'm only going to be in for a quick flyby visit, but I'll show you kind of where I'm looking at the markets at the moment.
What are you looking at, Rich? Let's have a look.
Yeah, this up here, I don't think a straighter line could be drawn if we wanted to come across these sort of triple, if not quadruple highs. This is GBP USD on the 15-minute chart. And interestingly enough, you zoom out, and you'll be able to drag this line pretty close to what we were talking about yesterday being a head and shoulders pattern. So you've got your jump to the 1 hour, it's a little bit clearer. This is a nice simple trading pattern I actually used to trade for quite a while. A few nuances to it that make it a bit more profitable for me, but we got left shoulder, we've got a head, and then we have a break of structure underneath this low. Once we get this break and close, looking for the retrace, and I looked at this retrace here and I'm like, I don't think that's it. I don't think that's the one. So I was watching in this kind of price action how we dropped here, and I was able to catch this for a little short yesterday. It cut somewhere around about here, and then this range yesterday was just chef's kiss. It was super cool. So down on the 15-minute chart, just looking at how the market couldn't really get above these highs yesterday, and I think this might be a target for today. So just watching this kind of one-sided price action come into the market, breaking these lows. I like this retrace, but I kind of think it's soaking up the seller's orders, and I'd like to see something kind of like this. I don't know what happens after we run these highs, but I think there'll be some orders up here. That's a terrible dollar sign, but I think there'll be a reason for price to get up here. Yeah. So
nice setup.
I'm going to be keeping an eye on this a little bit later on.
Yeah, it looks like a very clean setup, Rich. And I was going to say, I'm looking at it on my charts, and I can see that sentiment for sure. There's a lot of movement. The impulsive move down at the moment is the only thing that kind of leaves me a little bit guarded, should we say?
What's the time frame of flavor at the moment?
I'm just seeing so much kind of condensation of the pound and the euro against the dollar, because everyone seems to just be sitting around waiting to see what Trump's going to do next. You know, if you saw the gold yesterday sold off massively on the back of the news that there's an imminent deal between the Ukrainians and the US in terms of the minerals. I just feel as though there isn't a clear direction yet. And if you look at, for example, look at the 1 hour at the moment on GBP USD, you take that to the 1 hour, look at that engulfing candle right now. Granted, there's another 15 minutes, there's another 13 minutes left on that, but
this one
for me is that for me, if it continues to close in that way, that feels very, very strong as a bearish move. Anything like that as an engulfing candle, and the fact that if you look just slightly to your left from a few hours ago, there was a bullish engulfing candle that didn't hold. Not this one, further back.
This one?
About 10 candles. Yeah, that one. See how that wick never held. That wick never held, and the 1, 2 before that did hold. And so your line that you mentioned, I actually feel like that's a really strong line for sellers. And it looks like they're taking control of this. And we'll probably push down to the 262 mark. That's what I'm thinking. That's just where I'm looking at it. I did previously mark out a fib on here. I can't remember what time frame it was, but I did have a fib down here, and it did create an interesting opportunity. I'm not sure. It feels, as Alex would say, it feels very sticky. It just feels very sticky right now. Okay. You know, there's a lot of strength to the dollar, but it just feels a bit sticky. And I don't know, maybe I've been chopped around too much the last few weeks that I don't trust the Americans and what they're gonna do with this dollar of theirs. I say that 1 hour candle is pushing back up again. So
let me ask you this, because I've got to fly in a sec, but I want to get your perspective on it. So, two ways of reading price action. I don't know which one's correct, so I want to pick your brains on it. We're going to say that sellers took control of price here and took control of price here. Would that be fair to say?
Yep.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a big old zone on this, and we're going to incorporate these wicks here and here. And we're going to say this just becomes a zone. Sellers took control here, start to create bearish momentum, come up, tried to go higher, very quickly got taken lower, bearish momentum. On the hourly chart, we can see that because we've got a low, a pullback, and a new low formed here. So we can see that sellers, both times, same kind of idea here, right? Sellers took control of price in this zone. Now, price has come back to this zone here. So my thoughts would be that sellers in this zone here are defending. That looks terrible. Are defending this zone. Now, they defend it once, they defend it twice, they defend it a third time and a fourth time. Now, do you think this zone is becoming stronger the more it's defended, or do you think it's absorbing the orders that were of the sellers here? And the more it comes into it, the weaker it's getting. So should we be looking at this zone as a zone of strength or a zone that's becoming weaker?
So in my analysis, I'd be looking at this on multiple time frames. And that's how I would determine the strength or the weakness of a zone. So I completely agree with you that it's definitely an area of interest where price has reacted.
Yeah.
If I took it to the 4 hour, and this is just my strategy is I look at it this way. Let me delete some of these zones I've got marked out from previous ones, but up here we have got a 4 hour candle, this one here. And what did it take out? Well, it took out this. In fact, this one actually took it out, but it still held this zone. And look at that rejection of that wick. Now, granted, it didn't hold here, right? But it held long enough to push it down. If I then take it to the 5 hour, this one then took the inside bar on the 5 hour and created a bearish engulfing candle. What the current one has done is it's almost to the pipette come and retested this wick.
Okay.
And pushed further down. The same on the 7 hour, the same on the 8 hour. You see these big bearish engulfing candles, and they've already had their bodies retested. So for me, if I'm looking at it on the 1 hour, that's not clean. It's not a clean chart. The only thing that stands out to me as a target area is this 1 hour candle. It's shot down without a wick, just shot straight down, hasn't been mitigated, hasn't been returned to, and that was at 1 o'clock GMT. Not sure. I think that might have been Aussie dollar news actually. Let's have a look. Could have been off Aussie dollar news, possibly. I'm not sure. But that's why, if I can't see it on the 1 hour where there isn't a clear setup, I've got some engulfing candles in there, I always zoom out. Okay. Same on the 11 hour. You know, the 11 hour is an engulfing. It was an inside bar, took the high, shot straight down. The 12 hour is less convincing. The 22 hour looks more convincing. So I could see buyers coming in, but I'd possibly see them coming back to retest this area here. Okay. Because as you can see on the EMAs, we've broken this 200, but the others are still catching up. That's where I'm thinking. You know, the higher the time frame, crossing over the 200. Look, there we go. We've still got this 200 EMA on the daily. So that's probably why I wouldn't take a GU trade right now.
Okay. Gotcha. So hang on. So if price comes back up to this blue line later on today, am I selling? Do I think it's going to hold? What's the idea here? Because I see that chat's saying that it's getting weaker with each hit. It becomes weaker. Do we think more sellers are going to step in because they see this zone holding, or do we think it's absorbing the orders, supplies meeting demand, and we're going to get that one-sided drive? Then we're going to break to the high side. Obviously, there's no correct answer. We don't know what's going to happen. But
this is
how
it.
Can we read that?
Either way.
That's the conversation that's going on in my mind is this absorbing orders, or is this getting stronger? Because if I know how to interpret that, I can build trade ideas.
I can see it. I'm just looking at the 11-day. I can see it selling, but there is still, it's not as strong as I would have thought, because let me just clean this up a bit. I'll leave that level that I marked out on the 1 hour. You see this here on the 11-day. We had this indecision here, but then we had this one on the 11-day that created this zone. Now we've already tapped into it, but the EMAs on the 11-day are coming in close together, so they're converging, and we're still a long way off this on the 200 EMA. We bounced off it, so we don't necessarily have to come back to it straight away, but I can see us selling off. The thing that leaves me unclear on this is the fact that we've got this 5-day left on the 11-day candle. So I still think we're going to sell. I still think we're coming down to this area here. I don't think the dollar weakness is permanent yet. That's why I wouldn't feel comfortable calling it. And you can even see it on the 1 hour. You know, the time that we've been talking, that 1 hour candle, it hasn't shot down. It hasn't really, you know, shot down and said, yeah, we're gonna sell off. I could still see it come up and retest. There is liquidity further along. There's this level here, which is a wickless candle. And actually, no, this is going higher.
Oh, that was a quick pivot. You were very quick to change that. What
sometimes that's you've got an insight. You've got a wickless candle here on the 1 hour at 6 in the morning from Monday. So it's not the start of the week or anything, but it is Asia session. Price has come up yesterday afternoon and come to the exact same level. That is major liquidity. And that's why price has danced around it. It didn't touch it here, but that is significant equal highs. And if it's not on the 2 hour, on the 3 hour, it's not on the 4 hour or the 5, but it is on the 7. And it could well be on the 11. No. But that for me, so that's 7 and 1 hour. And if it's 1 hour, that means it's also half an hour and 15 minutes and 5 minutes and 3 minutes and 1 minute. That is major liquidity to be targeted. Price will come and take that.
Right. I better get my long socks on then and get my buys ready. Like, it's been a pleasure.
I don't think it'll go far, but I do think you'll see it go past this area.
Okay. I'll be keeping an eye on it for later on. Cheers for the heads up on this. Appreciate it, Mike. I'm going to have to fly. I'll catch up soon.
Thanks for jumping in, mate. Cheers.
Hello, mate. Bye.
There we go. Mr. Richie Wells was with us, which is always lovely to have. We are coming close to the hour, guys. So with each hit, it becomes weaker. Yeah, Hamid, I don't disagree with you. I just see this particular level. I just see that as a weak high, and I can't explain it. This is just how I back tested and how I've looked at it. When I look at these particular levels, I'm always looking at forex.com. When I see a double top, perfect equal double top, and when it's on a wickless candle on forex.com, those are really, really powerful. This could be interesting. I mean, it's not major Euro news when it's Bank of Austria manufacturing PMI, but it could move something a little bit. We're also sitting here on the 200 EMA and the others on the 1 hour, so we might see a push back up still. There's definitely still scope to come higher. Probably, if I was looking at it, I would be suggesting, let's see, you could look for potential buys here. Sells from here. But just being conscious of the fact that you've also got liquidity there on an inside bar, and then it's a case of taking it further back and looking where was the really bullish move from here. Well, you've got, let's have a look. Oh wow, yeah, no, you've still got a lot of liquidity here. That's a perfect equal high on the 4 hour. So my assessment, we've still got some longs to take because this is also major liquidity. That's my call. I don't know if it's going to play out today or not, but it certainly looks like the buys are coming in on GU today, at least to this area still, from what I can see. We'll see. I could be right. I could be wrong. We will have a look. Hamid, I know you're joining us on a daily basis with these streams. So I want to thank you very much. If you haven't received an invite yet for the Alpha Beta Lab platform, pop me a DM on Discord, please, and I'll arrange that for you because you've been a great supporter for us. So I'd like to get you early access in for the platform if you're not already in there. You might be, I know, I just don't know your Discord nickname. Anyway, that is it from me for today, guys. Thank you very, very much for joining. I'll be back again, same time, same place tomorrow for the Alpha Pulse, where we'll be looking at the charts again, and I'll maybe have 1 or 2 special guests with me as well. Thanks very much for joining, and I'll speak to you soon. Cheers, guys.